Actually, for that terrifying news. So when's the drop dead date? First one?
They didn't offer us one. They just said it's coming very soon. They're still working it out and with their state police guys.
They're working out the bugs, and so they're not gonna just drop us. They said we'll keep our system the way it is now, but we have two completely different systems that the dispatchers are gonna have to work on, right? So they're gonna have to go through our systems, which is a complete computer system. And the new one, the new completely digital, whatever band they called it. So they have to turn off one to talk to the other. They have to switch. Which, if they're talking to their guys and they have to switch back to us, they could miss transmission. So in an emergency, that's kind of.
My understanding is we're dispatched out of Cruces still, right? At SP, DPS. So you have Doña County, Sierra County, Hidalgo, all those counties in between Grant are going through the same circumstances, I guess, and then
Sierra has its own.
Sierra has its own. That brings me to Valencia County. I believe they have a huge communications center there that is really solidified and fortified. I'm wondering if we would reach out to them and see what type of capability maybe the county attorney
I
might.
could add to that. Certainly Valencia County is an option to at least reach out to them. They're basically, they have, it's called BREC, and it is a joint powers agreement between all of the entities in Valencia County. And the way they do it is they take the total cost of their program and they divide it equally by number of calls. And so if we could give them stats on number of calls, they might be able to either contract, we might be able to contract with them or join the joint powers agreement and become part of the entity. I've revised that joint powers agreement several times, so I know that it's possible, but you'd have to ask them. They are an independent entity. They are not a county entity. They are a separate. All of the entities created a new entity, which is VREC.
And along with that, we do have our CAD system, which is the computer aided dispatch through state police, which our guys really use a lot.
So I don't know. The next thing is, this is a horrendous life and safety issue that they're putting all of us into, and I'm not even sure. There was times I was being El Frito and La Petaca, La Madera. That was it on a hostage situation. How is a state police officer, if he doesn't have any connectivity, or even one of our deputies not having connectivity, how are they going to ask for assistance?
Through their dispatch center.
But if you don't.
So in that case, what they're saying is now there's no more dead spots. If we move to this, no matter where we're at, they call it a trunk system, a trunk system because your repeater is in your car. So no matter where you're at, we should be able to get service anywhere, which isn't bad, right? Because right now, I could tell you 15 dead spots right off the top of my head to include Alamo. They can barely hear us in Alamo if they can.
Well,
and that would fix that according to them.
Well, if you can get with me, if you can drill down and give me some more details, this is a life and safety issue. I think we'd want to get ahead of the curve as soon as possible and then start pulling rabbits out of our hat to see where we can get money from. So, but as soon as you can get that, let's sit down. And then I think in the interim, either both of us or one of us reach out to Valencia County as well.
And in the meantime, honestly, in the meantime, we don't have to go with the most expensive option. And things we got to think about with Valencia County too is the repeater system. How are they going to get the repeater system here in Socorro County? Because our SO channel, so we have our own channel, SO car to car and SO repeater. Our SO repeater system, which when I first came on, I could talk to people when I was in TRC or coming back from Las Cruces. I could get a hold of people. Anymore, and we tried to fix it 1,000 times. It doesn't work like it used to. And I think they've changed repeaters, they've done all kinds of stuff, and it doesn't work too good anymore. I don't know, it's kind of it's a headache, and it's nothing that we didn't expect it was gonna be this big of a scale, because we upgraded our radios. We got the good stuff, you know, we're thinking, all right, we know they're gonna change it. Well, now they just said, well, guess what, we're completely changing our band, which the radio frequency, and it's, so our old radios aren't even able to work with it. And like I said, they already told us, they're gonna do everything they can to make sure it's not a problem. And I believe them, because they work well with us. But you're right, it could eventually turn into a safety system. And right now, they're working out the bugs throughout the state. And I don't think, maybe Albuquerque, what did she say?
Yeah, B5 is 100%.
Yeah, B5 is completely switched away, but there's nobody there that they're dispatching other than state police. So it's interesting. Maybe some.
Any more questions from our sheriff? I just have, go ahead, Commissioner Dugan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Only that, well, it would seem the state would write the check for such a move, you know? I mean, their officers, state officers are just in as much jeopardy as anybody, right? I mean, it's sort of like, well, I mean, another mandate that Santa Fe doesn't pay for it, you know? I don't know what to say.
And really, for the price that we're paying for dispatch, it is very, very little. What is it, 30,000 for 3 years? So it's like $10,000 a year to pay for dispatch. And I mean, that is amazing. Plus, they gave us free CAD systems. We only have to buy the computers. They come down and they set up our CAD system. So they really did a lot for us. Of course, my brother was the deputy chief at the time, but they still work with us really well. And it could be a one-time crossover of maybe who knows how much, or we could start spending more for dispatch. I mean, I don't know which is gonna be more in the long run. It's definitely something we need to look into, but it's my guess that moving to a different, and I'm not against it at all, but moving to a different dispatch is probably gonna be a little more expensive when it comes down to it. Or it's gonna accumulate. But I don't know, we're gonna look into every single option. I mean, we still have a lot of brainstorming to do to see how we're gonna remedy this. Like an hour and a half. When we were in a meeting with them for several hours, for a couple hours at least, and they really want to help us out. And it's not just us, Magdalene and Marshalls are also having to do this, but not to the scale that we do. You know, we'll have to do 3-4 units, or we're doing 15, 16.
Sheriff, did they give you a time frame when they're gonna switch over?
No, because they're not trying to rush us just because they're going to keep both systems operating for us. But that being said, they don't want to wait forever, you know, they want it done as soon as possible. He didn't seem over-rushed, and she didn't give us a date, but I think they mentioned something about the 24th of this month that they're gonna be going live with their guys.
Yeah.
I think it's the 24th of this month, they're going to be doing something, and then, so Magdalena's that same day, they're doing a demo with whoever's doing their system. And, you know, that's what we know. And, well, like I said, we're gonna be brainstorming, trying to figure out what we want to do.
Any more questions? I just have one comment, Sheriff. I'd like to personally thank you because you went to Magdalena and talked to the grandparent the other night. He called you and made him feel comfortable. He's going through some issues and you know what they are. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you.
And I can be up for anybody, you know, I was elected to this position by the people, people knew me personally. And that's just what I'm here for. I'm doing this job. So if you know anybody with problems or anything, you need to go talk to them or give them some insight on what's going on with a certain case or anything. My cell phone, everybody knows my cell phone now, so I'm on the phone 24 hours a day.
Thank you, Sheriff.
I also like to say thank you very much for having someone at 169. Thank you very much.
You know, we have a lot of people, and it's not so much people from Alamo, but like some of the teachers and stuff going back and forth with people going through, they're going 100 miles an hour. And all it is that one hour. And I've been there where we're going to a call and we're going 100 miles an hour and 30L pointing right in front of us. That's dangerous. So, again, so the guys that come out there and they're going to stay out there.
Maybe we can train the wolf to run out and play on the highway.
Thank you.
Also, we're going to take the road up. That's the civilian code stuff. If you guys need anything or if there's any other questions, feel free to call me on my phone. I can do it over the phone. Okay,
Thank you.
Take care.
Item B, acknowledge managers report, verbal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, I'd just like to highlight some of the things in my report. We did get the quality of life grant award, $225,000 from BFA for Escondida the Lake project. That made us close to $500,000. Waiting on the revised contract agreement with Site Southwest, the architects that are going to present renditions to us. Hopefully in March, right? Held several meetings and referenced ISP and TDS. Interested in Coral County. I have another meeting coming up on that. I did set up the authorization of commission the First State Bank on March 8th to look at their competitive interest-bearing program that they have with programs. Sent out 3 different congressional grants: the Regional Opioid System, CLLA, and the Energy Efficiency Project regarding courthouse window replacement. We did a pre-bid on San Antonio drainage. We opened those bids today, this morning, myself, Sammy, and DEC. We had 2 respondents, and we're analyzing and looking at what they submitted. Pretty sure by tomorrow or so we should be able to identify who the bid winner is. I know we know preliminary, but we want to make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's. As you see on the commission agenda, we readied all the LGR projects because that has to be authorized today and submitted to MDOT. Mr. Valenzuela, met with him, gave us a presentation. He was going to present to you today on some bond issues that I think might be advantageous for the commission to take a look at. We started the beginning implementation of biometric systems. One thing we ran into the snag is where to place them, and then once we have that discerned through ITG, because they now need a wireless Ethernet, especially at the courthouse. So we're going to put them up, get the Ethernet probably by next week, and then go through the training of actually how to get people logged in. We participated in, we have a division of responsibilities going on in the manager's office, working through HR issues. I think we've had a record number of promotions and hirings probably in the last month. It's been crazy, but we're working on it, getting everybody on board. We filled sheriff deputies positions, cadet positions, several positions at the road and more at the detention center. And I began writing the personnel policy regarding the new biometric system. Hope to present that hopefully in March. Again, a massive number of IPRAs, keeping Jennifer and I swimming for lives. And then I coordinated claims with New Mexico County representatives on different claims of either motor vehicle damages and some other claims, workers' comp claims. Filed a claim. I think you saw the photographs that I sent to you over the weekend, referenced the roof damage at Seminole Center. They already agreed to send a claims person down through New Mexico counties and give us an appraisal to start moving forward on that. Review the progress on the fire marshal's office. And I have another meeting on the 8th with DEC to see where we're at on Sholey, Elmo, and all the others, kind of the limit car, all those other steps, projects that we got going, Sholey Bridge. And then I did do an interview with the offensive chief regarding the senior program and the break in the district. We had a break-in at the county manager's office and the district attorney's office. I think the sheriff's office is working diligently on that. There was several pieces of evidence that should be useful to hopefully track that person or persons down. That's it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Manager. Okay, commissioners report. John, do you have anything to report?
No, sir.
Commissioner Secretary?
Yeah, I'd just like to say congratulations to all the high school teams in terms of making it to state basketball, and also I know some were just completed the wrestling season as well too. And let's all come out and support all of our kids and good luck to each and every school, and we'll go from there.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
No, I don't have anything to this time.
Commissioner Duggins?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start by expressing sympathy to you and your family. I certainly meant to mention it in my prayer that you've lost an aunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was that yesterday?
It was Sunday.
Sunday. Well, we're always thankful for life, but it hurts, doesn't it? And I did intend to mention it, and so I am now. Forgive me. You and your family will remain in our prayers. I just wanted to bring up if you remember, it's been a while, and I should know the names of the streets, but remember we were asked for speed bumps out there in Lemitong, those little side roads, like where 91, I don't know if it continues County Road 91 after it crosses the state road going north or not. And we had looked at our policies and we had made the determination then that if I might go over the policy with you, it's my understanding, you might correct me, Nance, that if somebody wants a speed bump, they have to go to the people that live along that road, and you need about 80% to give you the nod, yes, right?
Correct.
And so then they would bring that back to the commission, I suppose, and yay or nay. And so, but within that policy, there's also room for between the commissioners, between the road department, between the county manager to look at a situation and act without the 80%.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Duggins, the policy is designed, for the citizens to request a speed bump. That said, ultimately the Board of County Commissioners, the county manager, and the road superintendent have a duty to maintain the highways our roads in a safe manner. So this board is not bound by that. If this board wanted to do speed bumps, We still do need to do the studies, the engineering that are required with that, because of course, speed bumps can be dangerous just as well as they can be as good, but if there's an independent determination, that is separate from that policy.
I just wanted to, you've got quite a list to do there, but, and maybe it's in the works, I don't know. But I just wanted to bring that, we were gonna see, and we had our sheriff, and well, I live there too, and we both testified to, there's a lot of speeding going on out there. What?
Refresh my memory.
Um,
Or you want to get with me later?
yeah, I'll get with you on that. And I wonder, we also, this commission some time ago, it was last year, after we had 23 overdoses in the middle school in 1 week's time on fentanyl, we wrote the governor a letter, as well as did, I don't know, half a dozen other counties, talking of the situation and asking for, basically shut the thing down, get the, shut the border down, clean the fentanyl, do what we can to get it off the street, that we were tired of going to our neighbors' funerals, And we never even got an acknowledgement of receipt of the letter. And as far as I know, neither did the other counties. And we were gonna, it's just very aggravating to me to feel like your government is not hearing you. It's not Glenn, it's the Socorro County Commission, and we deserve an acknowledgement or something. And so I'm looking at Attorney Nance. What can we do? I just feel helpless, and there's people in our communities that are dying and almost dying, and from what I've heard, what we get is millions of dollars of treatment. I'm not treatment, yes, but when you can prevent it, if they're flying, we know what they did for COVID. I just get kind of passionate about that. It's ridiculous to have this stuff. What are we talking about? 11, 12-year-old kids. Your kids, my kids, and they're just worth more than, and I wonder if we could write another, what are our options, Nance?
There are not a lot of options for us to do what you're asking. That's, there's separation of powers, and those are not powers that are delegated to the county. What you have done is make requests as a governing board, and that's the right way to go. You've also taken the extraordinary step of creating a joint powers agreement to create treatment programs. But as you say, that doesn't stop the supply. That deals with it on the back end. But those are the powers that you have, and you have been executing those diligently. As far as getting a response, that is within their wheelhouse.
Could that letter maybe be sent out to our senators, our representatives? I don't think we sent them the first time, and maybe they could,
Certainly.
I just can't understand how, this is not a DNR situation. I just can't understand how anybody, when you have the means and knowing what they did for COVID, listen, they can get this under control. Will you stop it all? I doubt it. But, if I had the stick, I'd swing it, I guarantee you. I just don't understand why we're letting our kids die. And one kid is too much. And I heard on the radio, watch out on I-40 because there's a dog on the highway. Believe me, I'm a dog lover before anybody comes after me. And that's good. But would we give it the same if it was a human? Step over and come get this guy off that's what it's and I went to Ray's meeting. What was it, Ray? The new, there's a new coalition, if you will, of Arizona and New Mexico county commissioners or something that are coming together to form a committee that would pay, Nance might have to help me again, that would pay ranchers in a faster way from the wolf kill, right? And maybe even like percent of pregnancies or something, because not only are they killing the cattle, but we're gonna be talking about this, but the reproductive is not there. You know, when you're being hunted, like Nance pointed out to me, you're probably not interested in much but survival. And so we come to, again, we had a resolution against the gun control for what our sheriff, and anyway, we had a resolution for that. So what about a resolution for, is this paid leave that they're pushing through and may get through? Is that what it's called, Nance, the paid family leave or something like that?
There is, but I have not been up on that legislation.
It's something in my Chile board that we've been all over because we think it's unaffordable. And I think I heard you right, as county government, it doesn't affect us, right? But it affects the mom and pop shop. And I just don't know how this, I just don't see, again, I don't know what our powers are, but it would be nice if this commission, could we do I'm sure we can do a resolution. We have to have a vote for it. We couldn't do it this meeting, right? It would have to be advertised. Can we put this on the next meeting? Will it be too late?
We can, but I think it might be too, right at too late.
Can we do this? Can we do the 72 hours, have an emergency meeting by Zoom to take a
You
vote?
could have a special meeting in 72 hours, correct?
If the chairman would be willing and the commission, I think for private business, it's deadly. Most businesses, just like the county, running 30%, and some businesses are running 0. And so now you've got paid leave, you have that expense, but now when they go, who's gonna replace them? Thanks to the Alamo, we still have Walmart. I mean, it looks like our own just are not working anywhere. And to burden the businessman even further, we need a vote on that.
It would have to be on Friday, Mike, 72 hours, the 3rd.
It would have to be Friday at past 5, so you might want to consider Monday. I don't think we could make the agenda by. It's up to this board though, if you'd like to do that.
If we could do a Zoom,
Okay.
I mean, it's worth a full meeting to me, but a Zoom makes it easy if it's legal.
Commissioner Duggins, you're making the motion to have a special meeting for a resolution for,
For the paid leave bill that I'm not sure what the number is. I can find out and get back with the manager. You might know it.
Change it up. I haven't looked at it.
Commissioner Chair Martinez and Commissioner Duggins, I know last year they passed the paid leave bill. Is this the one that augments it even more so?
Yeah,
so.
yeah. If you have an argument with your wife, you'll be able to call in and I still gotta pay you, you know? It's crazy. I don't understand. It's crazy. Turn the wolf loose and kill the cattle. Where the hell did that come from?
Adrian, can we do it since it wasn't on the agenda?
You could direct a new meeting. That is on the agenda. But we can't.
So we can't do the
We can't do the resolution today, but we could direct a new meeting for Monday if the board so chooses and have a quick meeting.
Do we need a motion for that to happen?
We do, and normally that would be at the last item, which is next commission meeting, but you can certainly, Mr. Chairman, have the privilege of doing it now and creating a meeting if you so choose.
Well, let's just do it when we get to the end of the meeting. That way, but remind me. So I won't forget. And then we stay with the tips.
Give you the elbow.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, my report is, I attended a meeting with Emily. She put on an advisory committee for the 4-H here. And she did a very good job of what they're planning or what they want to do. She asked from input from different people and she got a lot of input. I think I don't think, I know she's doing a real good job. It kept some of the stuff, so anytime commissioners have a chance, go talk to her and she'll let you know what she's planning. The other thing is that I attended the Board of Directors meeting in Santa Fe, which I'm a representative, and they gave us an update on all the bills. And it is very interesting. I'll leave this book so you can see some of the bills that they're trying to pass. I wrote my little notes on them. That way you can see what you're up against. The Associated Counties is really working to help on that stuff. The other thing, like Glenn mentioned, that committee for the WOOP, our next meeting is in March 20. March 27th at 1 p.m. and it's at Sierra County. This is going to be good for the ranchers, where they can be compensated for wolf kills, for wolf presence, and other stuff. It's still in the preliminary stages, but I think when that committee gets the funding, it'll be easier to compensate these ranchers for it. There'll be emails coming out, there'll be posters coming out to get the word out. As soon as I get all that stuff, Mike will have it and we'll start passing it out, to pass the word out to all the people that it will involve. So they can get help. The other committee that I'm on is the Coalition of Arizona and New Mexico Counties. We have a meeting Wednesday, March 1st. And I sent an email to Mike to pass it to you guys, commissioners. I don't know if you saw your email. They're wanting a nomination for Commissioner of the Year. For New Mexico, they want a nomination for Employee of the Year. Also, Organization of the Year. And an Individual of the Year. So, did you copy on what I wrote the comments to, Mike?
I have it saved.
Okay.
Chairman, I have it saved until, I believe you wanted the rest of the commission to chime in as well.
Yes.
And I have it saved, so once I start receiving those.
And that's tomorrow. So it's quick, so I need your help on those 4 items. If you to nominate somebody. Last year, Commissioner Duggins was nominated for Commissioner of the Year for all the volunteer stuff and the help that he's done through the county, through COVID, through the flooding in San Antonio and stuff. And he was selected for Commissioner of the Year. Pretty big honor. And that's about it that I have. Okay, item 9, public comment. During this portion of the meeting, we welcome your suggestions and want to hear your comments. This is not a question and answer period. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. The county commission is not able to take action on matters discussed during public comment. Speakers are requested to state their name for the record. Anyone has public comment? There's not?
No, there might be. No?
No.
They're on the agenda. Okay, new business. Item C, we moved that up, approval of the classification grant.
Oh, yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Thank you. It's Sumas from the DWI program. And our detox grant is always $150,000. I just got enthusiastic and asked for 190. So I knew it was 150 and I don't know, I had a brain thing.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Maybe the other side will have it. So,
50, so I'm just asking for approval for that adjustment. Thank you.
So
second.
Motion by Commissioner Secretarial to approve the change, second by Commissioner Duggins. Any further discussion before I ask for the vote? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's approved.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Now we go to debit profile presentation by Mr. Mark Valenzuela.
Commission, thank you for having me here at Socorro. I always enjoy being here in town. I have a presentation in front of you, and on the front page there is my contact information. I have worked with the county in the past, and I'm hopeful that we might be able to have an opportunity to work together again. I'm going to present a couple ideas here on some debt that the county has and that I was involved in structuring several years ago. So on slide 2 is just an overview of those debts. These pictures you see, these front pages, and forgive me, you can't read these, and I don't expect that you would, but what this is just a cover sheet of the offering documents that we put out to investors at the time when these bonds were sold. So in 2013, the county commission at the time went to voters and asked for $5 million to build a new detention center. And if you recall, originally it was in the downtown area by the courthouse, and there were several problems. There were some great, people that had broken out of those cells. And so the idea was go to voters, ask for the $5 million, and voters supported it. They were very supportive of the action. So we went out and sold $5 million of bonds for you. That happened in 2013. These bonds will be paid off in 2030. There's a few more years left here, and they can be called, which means if you had the cash to pay these off, you could pay these off at no penalty to you right now. Or if interest rates are lower than what you're currently paying, you can refinance them and take the savings. And that's the idea, and that's what I'll show you here shortly, that you might have that opportunity. And I'll give you a perspective on what interest rates look like. Shortly after that bond sale, the county needed additional funding to finish out the detention center for equipment and different things. And so what we did at that time was go out and sell 2.6 million of bonds to get the capital in to make those improvements. That happened in 2015. Those bonds will be callable where, again, if you had the cash, you could pay those off at no penalty to the county. You would be able to do that in June of this year. So they're going to come, that call date is coming up soon. And likewise, if interest rates are lower than what you're currently paying, you could potentially save some money there. And it's very much like, owning a house and refinancing your debt on your home. If there's a certain rule of thumb, if you make a certain amount of savings, then it's always valuable to do that. If not, you never do it, and you keep the existing relationship you have. So on page 3, I'm just kind of giving you some history of where your assessed value is. I know that you probably look at this pretty frequently. This is the past 5 years in the county. Your assessed value or the property values within the county, they've been growing. That's a real positive sign. And so this last year, when the assessor and the treasurer released information, the assessed value is at $321 million here within the county. Counties are allowed to sell 4% of their assessed value in general obligation bonds. Now, this is that same process where we sold the $5 million back in 2013. You have to go to voters and ask for that permission. The school district just did this, last year or a year and a half ago, and we're supported. And then because of that $5 million that's outstanding, you charge property owners a certain tax rate, and I'm showing that as the actual mill levy. That's what they're paying per $1,000 worth of value of their home. And by the way, I'm a homeowner here in the county, so I pay these taxes as well, just like everybody else. I went to school at Tech, and it's an important, in my heart, I like to be contributing to this community. Based on those tax rates, you're generating about $600,000 a year to pay off that debt. So if I can take you to page 4, here's the blue side here this is what you're currently paying. This is where the debt currently is. If you did nothing, you'll continue to make these bond payments, and if you look at, you're gonna pay a $350,000 annual principal in 2023, and then about $75,000 of interest in the same year. So your total payment's about $424,000. So the opportunity in front of you is, if interest rates drop lower than what you see now, and your total interest remaining on this debt is about $340,000. If we could structure a deal that is less than $340,000, and there's enough economic savings for you, I would be recommending that you move forward with that and take those savings and save property tax owners that amount of money. The state of New Mexico always also gets to vote here. They won't approve a refinance of your debt unless you can get what's called at least 3% net present value savings. And so on the far right over here, I'm showing you what the annual savings are. And it looks like a negative, it really isn't. And I'm just assuming what an interest rate might be. You save about $70,000 with the current rates. That only equates to 1.9% net present value savings. So the state of New Mexico would tell you, no, you can't do it. You can't move forward with that unless you can achieve 3%. So what I'm proposing is that we start preparing. I work with you to start setting this up, that should market rates drop, and should you get to that 3% net present value savings, we can start moving forward and saving taxpayers some money on it. Page 5 on the next one, it's the same structure, but looking at maybe shortening the debt by at least a year. Right now, I've looked at your audit and I've looked at how much cash is in this property tax account. The only thing you can do with that revenue is pay for these bonds. It can't be used for your operating budget or anything else. According to New Mexico's Constitution, you have to use those revenues to pay off this debt. And so you have about $200,000 extra in that account right now, and then you're going to start collecting the $600,000. So there might be an opportunity to pay off some of that debt in advance if you restructure and refinance. And if we were to do that, shorten it by a year, and you can see down there at the bottom right-hand corner, you'd save 8.1%. Now, some of that's coming from the cash you're putting in, but it's starting to look like a stronger possibility when we use some of your cash. And I want to go to the next page on slide 6 and just kind of give you a visual perspective of this. This left-hand graph, if you just did the refinance and you made that, save that $70,000 I showed you earlier, it doesn't do a lot for you. It's pretty much just standard what you're doing now. You just save that $70,000, and I'm not saying that $70,000 is unimportant, it's important. But from a structure perspective, it doesn't do a lot for you. The one on the right, however, using about $200,000 of your cash, if you look at this one, that green line at the top is the revenue you have coming in from property taxpayers. And without growing that, so without assuming that your property taxes are going to grow, but like the amount that assessed value is going to grow at all, we're just keeping it flat. That's why that line's straight across. You can see that right now you have sufficient revenue to pay the blue bar, which is your current payment. But if you restructure the debt, use that $200,000 of cash and sort of front load the debt on the new structure, you put more of the principal on the front end so that you're not paying as much interest. That's where you get to that 8.1% net present value savings. But more than that, if this commission is thinking about potentially going back to voters and asking for more capital for infrastructure projects, this structure starts to set you up in that way. It's one of those scenarios where you can go to voters and say, look, we're not going to raise taxes. We're just going to continue to do what we're doing today. Same tax rate, but we might be able to get another $5 million to build roads or to do the things that you need to do in the county. And so this is the structure that could get this commission to that place if you refinance, use some of your cash to move the debt up more closely and pay lower interest costs. So that's the first one. That's that general obligation bond piece. You also have the possibility, like I was saying with the gross receipts tax bonds, that additional $2.6 million. Right now, if you go to page 7, you owe about $1.6 million remaining on that debt. That'll be paid off in 2034. And again, if interest rates drop and you can save that 3%, then again, I would be recommending that you move forward on this one. Right now, this one works with the interest rates. And I got these interest rates from about a week and a half ago. They've moved a little bit, I would tell you, but right now it works. You're saving 4.4%. On a future value, it's about $95,000 of savings. Again, nothing to sort of shirk your head at. That's $95,000 is a lot of money. So that's the opportunity. You have these two bonds outstanding. I would like to work with you again to refinance them. And the way I work is I don't get paid until the transaction is complete. So you wouldn't pay me anything unless you actually get that savings that we're talking about. And if you never do it, if interest rates from today move on and just keep rising like they have been, then we'll never execute it. You always get to decide, your administrators get to decide on whether we move forward. And the state has that check in there to say, if you don't get 3% net present value savings, they're never going to approve it. So it has to make sense for you. It has to have savings for you, or else we never move forward. And if you never move forward, you never pay me a dime. Now, let me tell you not the other side. It's not just me involved. We also need a bond attorney to be involved as well. And so there's that fee as well. They also work like I do. So if you never move forward, you don't end up paying them. We put our risk in putting the deal together, getting it to market, believing that we have some perspective on the market and what might happen in the next several months, and taking advantage of that with you in the transaction. The final pages, I'm just showing your existing debt on page 8, and then on page 9, these are a long-term view of interest rates. So I'm showing you back to 2007, and in 2007, I'm sure you all remember the Great Recession. This is when the housing crash happened, and you can see where interest rates rose up to. What you're seeing here is Treasury rates, all combined, 2-year, 3-year, 10-year, 30-year. And back in 2007 on the left, they're all at the same place, meaning there was no difference between the interest rates. If you took out a 2-year investment or a 30-year investment, they're all the same. Now, if you look forward to today and you look at those same curves, they're all together again. We're in an environment right now called an inverted yield curve. Historically, it always tells us that if we have this sustained period of inverted yield curve where short-term investments are paying higher than long-term investments, economic recession happens within the country. And economists are sort of predicting at the end of the year that we'll start to see that. Frankly, I already see it. You know, Commissioner Duggins, you talked about hiring and trying to find people to work. You know, it's already starting to show itself. Those indications in the economy, layoffs are happening. And so my sense is I think we're already kind of in it. The interest rate environment is still askew, but interest rates change on a daily basis. And my sense of, we've been in this for about 3 quarters now. And my sense and my bet here is that interest rates are going to start normalizing. We're going to start seeing for the normal where short-term investments are paying higher than long-term investments. And when that happens, there's a better opportunity here. On page 10, you kind of see this called the inverted yield curve, kind of where we are now. But I'll show you on the right side the tax exempt curve. You all get to sell your bonds tax exempt, meaning the investors that buy them, they don't have to pay tax here in New Mexico on them or to the federal government on their earnings. But if you look at that blue line right there at the bottom, those were interest rates back on June 6th of last year, less than a year ago. And it's that same normal curve that I just talked about where short-term investments are paying lower than long-term. And so the point here is, I believe that markets are pretty efficient, and I believe that we can probably get back to this normalization. When that happens, these refinancings are going to be what we call in the money. They're gonna make money for the county. And so again, that's the presentation. This whole process can take at least 3 months just to get to the place where you can start talking about doing the transaction and taking advantage of interest rates. And over that time, we're gonna see interest rates moving up and down just like they do every day. And there may be the opportunity for you to take advantage of it. So my presentation to you today is, I'd like to work with you to start setting up the process, to start positioning you so that if the market does change and improve, we can take advantage of the savings in either one of these transactions. So I'll stop there, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, answer any questions that you would ask of me, and again, look forward to hopefully working with you.
Thank you, Mark.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
so what's the normal?
So
To get to a normal, what is normal? What I'm looking for, when this interest rate gonna go down? I need you to get your crystal ball out.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner, that's a crystal ball look. I try to operate off a philosophy of not picking or timing a market, because I don't think you ever win there. But setting my clients up to be able to take advantage of a positive market.
I definitely think we need to be set up, but I don't know what you have to, I think the manager's where you need to go, but, because if interest rate comes down to where we can make this 3%, whatever with it, that'll pass through the state, that means our interest, our money will be also going down. We better be looking for a way to save some money. Seems like, I don't know.
Go ahead, Manager.
First, thank you, Mark, presentation. Thank you, Chair and the commissioners. Mark, when Sammy and I first reviewed this with you, I think we were fairly excited to position ourselves to take advantage of it if and when this happens. But I don't know if you know that there's a bill in front of the state legislature right now to reduce all the county's GRT capabilities and capacities. And I was actually going to ask the commission to add that to the special board meeting in another resolution. Because reducing our capacity and capability of GRTs, that's one of our major revenue sources, and it impacts services, it impacts our collaboration and capability of servicing people in the Alamo community throughout this entire county. So with that said, if that passes congruent with a possible opportunity, have you analyzed or calculated the impact percentage-wise? Will it impact it greatly, and so our payback is not as verbose?
So, Mr. Chairman and Manager Hawk, it's a great question. I haven't looked at it specifically. I'm tracking the bill as you are, because at first I thought that bill was going to be the state lowering their share, but it's not. They're pushing it on the local government. The good thing about New Mexico's Constitution is that there's an impairment clause that says that the legislature can't pass a law that would change the repayment structure of bonds. So if you're bonded against a revenue stream like gross receipts tax, they can't take an action that would adversely impact the county so that you wouldn't be able to make those payments, or they would have to step up and cover it for you. So I need to look at exactly how this might impact your gross receipts tax structure, and see if that impairment would be, put you at risk. So forgive me for not having a more clear answer for you, but you are protected from a constitutional perspective of, the state can't come in and take away revenues that you're using to repay debt. And so frankly, and I don't mind telling you this, that some of my other clients, they're doing this and they're thinking this through. Some of them are trying to extend out their debt, because as long as the debt's outstanding, it sort of holds the state off from being able to impair their existing debt structure. So it's a possibility. When they washed away the increments, when they washed away the hold harmless, its designation, or some of the, like the law enforcement GRT increments, and they put just a bucket of gross receipts tax rather than special ones. They started to take away local government's ability to segregate out those revenues specifically so that that impairment issue wouldn't necessarily be as impactful, although this is Attorney Nance's world, I'm not an attorney, so I think he might have a better way of getting at, the constitutional provision of impairment on your debt, so. Sorry for the long-winded answer.
Okay, thank you again, Mark, and Manager, what's your recommendation?
I would recommend to the commission that we move forward to set it up along with the constant hawking of the state's bill, like get it ready to set up. It is a very advantageous way for the commission and the county to see possible revenues in the future and to extend our bond capability when we really do need the fund.
Okay. You've heard the recommendation of our manager, commissioners.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Quick question, what's an average cost for a bond attorney and what is your fee, can I ask?
Sure, absolutely, completely, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner. It's dependent on size. So the larger the transaction, our fees are higher just because some of the liability that's associated with it. For deals this size, it's going to be roughly for my fee about $15,000. And bond attorneys, they try to support. I mean, we would rather get a deal done than not. And so I feel a little comfortable telling you I could probably work with you to get an attorney to do it for about $15,000 as well. And so all fees in about 30. Maybe 40. I just want to be fair.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good question, Commissioner. Okay, you heard the recommendation of our manager. Entertain a motion to approve his recommendation.
So move.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Aguilar to approve. Second by Commissioner Gonzalez. Before I ask for a vote, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, you're giving the authority to work with Mike.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a safe
Good night.
day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Have a good night.
You too. Okay, you wanna handle the DOT, you wanna put them all together or one by one, guys?
We need
One by one?
I think we must,
Oh, sorry, I apologize. Agenda request, Jeffrey Woods, sorry.
Yeah, my name is Jeffrey Woods. I live Port State Clean, Luna Drive. I'm the director of the Gita. I am about a mile away from Beckett Fire Station. There in the Gita. What I want to do, gentlemen, is bring it to your attention that once the combination of Abatis and Gita came together, it is not done as it was intended. Everything has fallen short on the east side of the river. There are many faults. I'm not going to stand here and point fingers, but there are directions that we need to make. Now, we in Megiddo, and I'll speak for this, want our system back. Put it back the way it was. Vegas, Sepinal, and Brigitte. Let Vegas do whatever they're gonna do. Let us train the way it needs to be done. You know, I stood here, in front of you a couple weeks ago, telling you what I could do for the stations. First of all, Station 1 up there, which is the North Station in Vaquita, pretty much needs to be torn down. You need to take a tour of it, see what kind of shambles it's in. It needs to be redone. The equipment that's up there needs to be redone. Now, I'm not gonna fault one person for another, but it has to be within our structured system in the Vaquita side, that we take care of our own. I promised you that I could get 5 firefighters academy trained. I would make 6. I have a couple others that are chomping at the bit to come on board. I can set forth a training plan. Not only once they finish the academy training, but Fire 1 and Fire 2 refresher courses. If you look back in the news last month about the train wreck that had hazardous material on it, you know that the line that comes out of south of us and going into Belen hauls hazardous material. I can stand here and tell you with full confidence that none of your volunteer firefighters are ready to take on this challenge. I have connections with the hazmat team with BNSF because I'm a retired railroad. I've been through a number of their trainings. I told you I have certificates. If any of the commissioners wish to look at them, I have them present with me. But what we need is structured training. I can provide that. What I'm also asking is for reinstatement of 4 firefighters that were dismissed by somebody that didn't have the authority to do so. Vaquita side, Abeta side. It's a part. May comes, that's when the funds come out. It's gonna take a little doing to restructure and refurbish Station 1. Station 2 is pretty good. It's right next to your elementary school, your senior center, your health center, and the state Boys and Girls Club. I had said something about, doing ISO and pre-planned inspection. That was just given to the Dollar General store by the current chief of Abetas. He dropped the paperwork off and told them to do it. Gentlemen, that's not how it works. I can tell you that just to do the state side, the Boys and Girls Club, it's gonna take damn near a week. And then we got the elementary school. Your senior center. Your health center. You go 5 miles up the road, then you have the Vaquita store. And then you have past that, you have the Dollar General. And then you have a propane that's right across the front that has never had a pre-plan. They don't know where the shutoffs are. So something happens, there's gonna be a mess. So if we don't hit this head on, and get people trained up. Like I said, I'm a Vegetas. I care less what Vegetas does. But we that live in Vegeta and Las Vegas want our station back and under our own control. I wanted to show you what training reports and ISO reports. Those come from the chief's handbook. I'm sorry, there was a question.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So before we go any further, my question is, well, two-part question. First, how long has it been, how long have they removed the station?
2020,
Okay.
January 2020.
So as of then, what is our data in regards to fire response in the both areas?
I would have to refer that to Mark because I've been locked out of the station.
So, earlier okay, so let me just explain something.
Yes, sir.
There's a process. And, you know, it's even to begin the process of reopening this station, you know, there has to be
The station was never closed. So it's not a matter of reopening. The stations were never closed.
Okay.
But
Okay.
what it comes down to, sir, is, correct.
Okay, so first of all, let me remind you that we're in a board meeting.
Yes, sir.
We're in a boardroom. There's etiquette in regards to presenting, okay? And cutting off people is not one of them. So let me just ask you, have you sat down with our manager in regards to the different strategies that you're talking about?
We've touched base numerous times, but as far as me taking over, you know, I was trying to get the 4 firefighters reinstated. I myself could care less whether, sorry, you just cut me off. Now, what I was saying was that I myself wasn't caring whether or not I became chief. All I wanted to do was to train, okay? And that's what I do, and I do at best. You know, I can provide, you know, the best training that these firefighters, volunteer firefighters, can get. I can keep them up to the NFPA standards. I can keep them at a high standard on your ISO rating. You know that when your ISO rating goes to 9, there goes your funding. Your funding gets cut. What I just handed you was a checklist. That came from the chief's handbook. Now, there are 3 handbooks that a chief, assistant chief, and actually the rest of the officers need to read. That's the SOPs, bylaws, and the chief's handbook. It gives you direction, tells you what needs to be done so that we get a better rating than what we currently have.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I mean, it basically sounds, we combined those 2 firehouses, is that not right? They weren't shut down, but, I mean, it sounds like you're applying for a job. I can't help but say that, and I guess the reason I'm squirming over here is because I don't think it's a commissioner's call to hire or even fire or whatever with anything like that. I think this belongs in the manager's office, doesn't it? Does it not?
Actually, if you read the chief's handbook, you are.
Well, we may have the last say, but we need all kinds of information on this before we make any kind of move, don't we? That would come from where?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, yeah, it appears that Mr. Wood, I mean, what he's requesting, I mean, to boil it down is to, resplit that district and put it back the way it was. So, I mean, I think I mean, I don't know whether it's a viable or a good idea or a great idea or not a good idea, but I do think, with Mr. Woods' input, it would have to come through the fire marshal and the manager and then come to this board and you all do make the final determination of whether you would like to reformulate a new district. And which is possible, and we certainly can make that happen through the PRC, if the data and the personnel show that it's a good idea, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't.
But Mr. Chairman, just real quick, Nance, a question. So that policy that we have, once an employee is terminated or something, they cannot come back for, I forget the time. There is a time limit, right?
That, I mean,
That apply to them?
that does not apply to them. So I mean, each individual would, I mean, if somebody wants to apply it, it may be a very different circumstance if there was a new district. That's on a case by case basis at that point.
And with who? The county manager?
That is ultimately through the county fire marshals.
Fire marshals.
Go ahead.
So my understanding of the volunteer fire system is if there's a community, an entity who wants to become a fire service, that's the proper channel to go to, is to that state fire marshal's office and take it from there. In the process where we put the Northern Community Fire Departments together, that was under the guidance, if I'm not mistaken, the state fire marshal's office. So I think the guidance has to come to the state fire marshal's office. And ultimately, we have the say-so, but it's under the recommendations of the state fire marshal's office.
Just to let Mr. Nance know, the PRT has nothing to do with it anymore. I can't get anything requested through them as far as like inspections. That all has to go through the IPRA at the state fire marshal's office.
I'm sorry, I meant to say state fire marshal's office. I can't keep them straight in my mind
No,
anymore.
sir, I just
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
wanted to throw that out.
Absolutely.
It is coming up in May when they come out with the funds, May 31st, as well. So, that's why I was adamant about getting it split before May, so that Vegeta will get their funds and so that we can set our firefighters back up. Now, Abetas did not have the authority to dismiss. You guys saw that the last time I handed out paper. He did not have the authority. So, we want those firefighters reinstated.
Mr. Woods, on your agenda request, it is showing that your request is to reinstate the Vegeta Fire Department, to reinstate the Vegeta Fire Department and 4 volunteer firefighters,
Yes, sir.
RMP and EMS. It says, what is the physical impact of this request? None to the county. Budget adjustments request? Yes. My recommendation to the commission is, we know what you want. I think the manager and Mark and the fire marshal need to direct us on what would be the proper way. What is your?
Ways, Joe's way.
If I may,
I think the dysfunction within the departments is what led to this. And the state fire marshals came in and looked at it and said that this was their recommendation to be where we're at right now. That's how I understand it. So until the state fire marshal re-intervenes and says that it's not dysfunctional, they can operate on their own, then it's up to the state fire marshal's office to say, Vegeta can have their own department, their own district back, and so forth. But the fiscal impact, we still get the same amount of money that we were getting before. That's what, yeah. And as far as, if Vegeta's in such neglect, as you're saying, I do believe that the state fire marshal does annual inspections of all the departments, all the districts, all the stations, all the vehicles. So until, I would think our county manager would be made aware of, and when they're not kept up to standard, they tell you you're not gonna get any more money. That's just in black and white, and we're not aware of any of that happening.
As of right now, yes, sir. But, I don't wanna step on any toes right now, so I'll refrain from saying that. But, you know, what I would like to do is get, Russell up here to talk about RMP and what he can bring to Vegeta and what he's brought to, the, Elephant View. Which is what, almost 400,000?
If I may, with all due respect, we're not the right entity to bring that stuff to. When you have that paperwork in line that you jump through the channels to the state fire marshal's office and you're showing as a department, a community that the state fire marshals is giving you your blessing to be a independent district up there, then you can bring that to us. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay, all right, I'll reach out to Randy. Any other questions?
No, Mr. Woods. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Okay, item B, consideration of resolution 2023-30, New Mexico DOT LGRF E-CAT funds.
Chairman, Commissioners, in your packet, you have the resolution 2023-30, reference LGRF cap funds, in which we are wanting to submit to NMDOT. Total cost is estimated $380,780.45, which 75%, our share will be $285,585.34. NMDOT's. We are capable of upholding our share. And it's, as you see, it identifies the roads that the commission, so if you'll check, make sure, those are the roads that I have down and that we've documented that you prioritize for CAP. And with that said, with the passage of this, we can submit to NMDOT for the funds.
Chairman,
Yes.
so it's a guarantee they're gonna fund it all?
There's never a guarantee.
But they're in that order, right?
Yeah.
Like, thank you. So move.
Motion by Commissioner Gonzalez, second by Commissioner Secretarial. For ask for the vote, any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes for resolution 2023-30 LGRFP CAP. Item E, consideration of resolution 2023-31 Mexico DOT LGRF COOP.
Chairman, Commission, in your packet is congruent resolution along with the estimates and the identified roads that you have prioritized with us requesting from NMDOT $75,769.25. And it includes Calle de Centro, Chaparral Drive, Sanchez Drive.
I make the motion to approve this present.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gonzalez, second by Commissioner Duggins. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Resolution 2023-31 New Mexico DOT LGRF COOP is approved. Item F, consideration of resolution 2023-32 New Mexico DOT LGRF SBR.
Just so you know that there's a typo on the resolution, and it should be 2023-32
The 33?
instead of 33. I mean,
Marshall's 32.
Yeah, it shows 32 on the
But not-
agenda, but on the
Okay.
resolution, so we'll fix that.
Okay.
And it's in the amount of $228,232.95. And that's for school bus routes. And again, if the state does like last year, they only had 5 million for school bus routes, and so they only allocated a certain amount to each county. And that's usually the lowest funded roads. I don't understand, but that's what we're asking for, and it identifies the roads that you prioritized. El Alto, Satan, and Jaramillo.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioners Secretarial, second by Commissioner Gonzalez. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, consider, resolution 2023-32, Mexico DOT LGRF SBR is approved.
And that's with the correction of the number.
Yes, 32. Item G, consideration of resolution 2023-33, maintain mileage.
In your packet, you have the resolution identifying the maintaining mileage that we have to submit to NMDOT. And attached to that is the road list and the amount of miles that we do maintain. And I believe the total is 13,
Hasn't changed.
no, it hasn't changed. So,
I make a motion.
along with the map.
Motion by Commissioner Duggins.
Right.
Second by Commissioner Aguilar. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 2023-33, maintain mileage is approved. The commissioners, did you notice on your email from Mike that the Forest Service gave us some of the money?
Good.
Or did they take it now?
But yeah, it's $10,000 less.
This,
And it only allocates enough funds for one pass a year.
10,000 less, huh?
10,000 less, and just so there's a clear record, the county put in, above the contract, we came to the rescue, the commission came to the rescue of our community members to the tune of about an additional 70 grand in those areas to include culverts, road work, because you had people stranded, couldn't get medical attention, couldn't get foodstuffs, but we were able to, with your graces, able to address those situations. And so they're giving us less money and less roads and one pass, so I'm sure I'll be coming to the commission, letting you know that what we're having to do out there. This weather doesn't stop.
and the ranger, Tina, she had said that maybe we could have a meeting later on, you and the road department, to kind of discuss it.
That's correct.
So
I believe that's next week.
next week,
I believe so. I'll check again. I have several meetings.
that way the people will know what's going on. Okay. Item 8, consideration of resolution 2023-34, employee evaluation policies.
In your packet, you have the employee evaluation policy that's tied to the compensation package, along with the desires of the commission of, well, you have the performance evaluation policy that is updated and congruent with what we're trying to achieve and how compensation takes place. I did change to make both the supervisor and the employee evaluation forms with the same numerical value and the same type of incentive and or compensation, along with internal controls when it's submitted to HR and the manager's office of how we guide against horns and halos and other type of things that we see in these types of situations.
Any questions, commissioners?
Make the motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Gonzalez to approve.
I will second the motion. But let's go ahead and add the numbers to it, resolution number 2023-34, because right now all it says is this evaluation, employee evaluation.
That?
Yeah. We can make sure it's correct.
On the.
Okay. Second by Commissioner Gonzalez with correction. Commissioner Secretarial with the addition of the right resolution number. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. The resolution 2023-34 employee evaluation policy is approved. Item I, consider resolution 2023-35 supporting House Bill 344 and
Senate bill.
Senate Bill 124, employee return to work.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I can address this. This was the issue, and I believe that we passed a similar resolution in previous years. But if you recall, previously, retirees were able to return to work and go back and have the job. Basically, the way I look at it is you sign up for something and it says, you know, you're going to work for 30 years and then you get to retire and you get your pension. You perform that part of your contract. You work for 30 years, you get your retirement. And then why shouldn't you be able to go back to work? There was a big Larry Barker mess a while ago, years ago, where they just decided this is double dipping. I don't see how it's double dipping, but the legislature freaked out and they stopped everybody from returning to work. And what that meant was all of a sudden you have all of these professionals who, you know, the cream of the crop, our senior people who would no longer go back to work whereas they previously did. And what that did is it just wiped out a lot of the professional class of our really important positions, and that includes firefighters and police officers, and not to mention just about everyone else that works for the county. So these bills are basically trying to work through a compromise to allow individuals to come back to work with their para in certain circumstances. So I think it's really important legislation. I think it was a mistake for them to have did what they did, and I think this needs to be rectified. And hopefully, with your support, maybe it'll get a little bit more traction.
Make the motion that we approve it, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Dunn's to approve.
I'll second and I'm going back to work.
Gonzalez. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Resolution 2023-35 supporting House Bill 344 and Senate Bill 124, employee return to work is approved. Item.
Before we go on, Mr. Hawks, also Adrian and Ms. Montoya, I just wanted to apologize for the mishap earlier. I was looking at the wrong screen. It does have the resolution.
Okay, we'll look at that.
Right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. Item J, consideration of resolution 2023-36 opposing slaughter of Gila wilderness livestock.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, and I apologize, there is a wrong number on both of those, and those are both my doing. However, this particular resolution, as you know, have seen in the news, the federal government has started basically aerial shooting feral cattle in the Gila wilderness, and the New Mexico cattle growers did sue. I don't believe they're going to get much traction in that lawsuit, but there are certain issues with it beyond the fact that it is, several issues. One, it leaves, a lot of baby calves there where they're going to basically starve either or get eaten. I think it's bad policy if the feds are completely into their wolves, but what does this ultimately do is shows, you kill cows, they're going to start eating the carcasses and they're going to continue to want to have beef because of course that's the best food, guys. So
Eat more chicken.
This resolution opposes the shooting, the aerial shooting of feral cattle and requests them to take other more practical means, gathering them and rounding them up in, in more traditional manners and, to stop for not go this shortcut.
Okay, you heard,
If I mean, so now a rancher can't do that? They're not allowed to round up the feral cattle?
So actually what's interesting is there is a rancher, there are people that are on contract to round up the feral cattle. And they're successfully doing it. However, now they've got the aerial helicopters coming in. So, I mean, it basically is cutting out the people that they have already contracted to. I mean, and that part doesn't make much sense to me.
So there is something in place to deal with them right now.
There is, and there's an individual, and I actually spoke with the individuals not too long ago that have the contract. I don't know why they would jump to doing it. I mean, granted, feral cows are not easy to catch, but you just need a fast horse and a short rope and you can do it.
There you go. Four-wheeler nowadays.
okay, I need a motion to approve resolution 2023-36 opposing slaughter of Gila wilderness livestock.
So
Motion by Commissioner Aguilar, second by Commissioner Gonzalez.
Mr. Chairman, before you take the vote, I'd like to comment on this. I mean, honestly, this is the government we have. We released a bull and we killed the cattle. Our people are hungry. The state doesn't properly fund the senior citizens and we kill the cattle. And it's all right to kill a baby at birth. Honestly, people need to take a look at that. I mean, whatever. It's just, you couldn't dream it up. And so that's a yes from me.
Thank you, Commissioner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Resolution 2023-36 opposing slaughter of Gila wilderness livestock is approved. Item K was tabled till the next meeting. Item L, direction to staff regarding county department business hours from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Mike?
I want to, Mr. Chairman, if I may, can I?
Sure.
I was really kind of stunned to, well, I've always been stunned how the government works, but I don't care if you're paid by the hour or if you're paid by the salary pay or whatever. It seems to me like people need to come to work at a set hours. I know elected officials sit in their own world and I get it. But if you're a employee of the county, surely you just can't make up your own time. I mean, 8 to 5 and this policy that we have, I think does it. I personally think that it's been abused. And I think all of these hours, and I understand fire, sheriff, quailing grounds, sweeping the snow before employees get there. I get it. But it all should go through this man right here. And we should maybe direct him to do a little inquiry across the county, and see what's going on, what's happening and what's happened and what are the results of it. I mean, it's your call. And I guess in this, I just want to back up the current the current policy that we have and our manager at the same time. It's a difficult place to be in. And I mean, come on, a school teacher gets paid salary. You can't just come whenever you want.
Okay, Commissioner, Manager Hawks, your comments?
So we do have a policy in place right now, and then the beginning of each calendar year, the commission puts into place the recognized business hours throughout the departments, and the policy is the manager being charged of operations will discern special needs in different locations, different departments, and taking into account weather, illness, all those things that come into play, also any fiscal or operational impacts. So right now, we do that. However, there is some disconcertion about some departments that are just operating only 4 days a week. I did analyze it fiscally. There really is no different impact between 4 10s and 8 5s. The only difference is possible recruitment and retention, but I don't know how that really plays out over a long distance, a long amount of time. So I guess all I'm asking is if we want to put into place what the commission actually votes on at the beginning of each calendar year, saying office hours are 8 to 5, unless identified by the county manager where there's a snow day or there's an operational difference issue, then all departments should be 8 to 5.
So basically, we would be backing up the current policy, right? Just,
Yeah, actually,
there's really not a change that's necessary in the policy.
no, there is, the one department that does 4 10s, that was put into place way before I got here.
But you still can,
And
as county manager, take a look at these departments, all these
yeah,
departments.
that's what I did that. I actually already did that. If the commission wishes that all departments be treated equally, then I would put that into play.
But they can't be treated equally, can they?
Well, as far as understanding just like I think you used the example, teachers, there's recognized time to report and recognized time for recess and go home and teacher prep. There's all that, and that's how the offices would be. There's recognized time to report to work and the recognized time of getting off of work. Of course, there'd be probably individual type situations based upon employee needs. But department-wise throughout the county, then there would be a standard 8 to 5 is the recognized office hours, Monday through Friday.
It'll be open for business.
If I may.
Go ahead, Commissioner Gonzalez.
One of this is Mike in his spare time, probably sit down with each department and value their workload, personnel that they have, and between both of them, just like Len said, determine which is the most efficient, and without, I know, I'm the same with you, it's an 8-hour day, it's a 16-hour day, but that's not the reality anymore. And it used to be one person went to work and the other one stayed home and raised the kids, and that's not happening anymore. It's complicated. It's not so cut and dry like it used to be. So I'm in favor of having some flexibility with the employees that they can have flex schedule. And you're probably not going to like to hear this one, Glenn, but other parts of the country right now, of the world, actually they're compensated for 40 hours a week, and they only work 32, and they're finding that they're getting more production just because they want that time off. And it's a give and take, as an employee, you got to put out, for lack of better words, and get stuff done so that you can have your time off.
So right now we have 2 departments that are on 4 10s, right?
Not that I know of, I only know of one. Well, the road, but that is usually, they used to, let me put it this way, they used to go to 4 10s in the winter and 8 to 5, Monday through Friday in the spring and the summer. But somehow that got changed, I think before I got here. So it's been recognized 4 10s, so you are right, so it's 2 departments.
It looked like, excuse me for interrupting, go ahead.
So so you're right in a way, but for some reason, I don't know when, they stopped changing during seasons. And I don't know what the reason was, but.
They liked it. And it worked, you know, if you like it's one thing, but it has to work.
Yeah.
That's not.
It looked like it would have been the opposite way. In the winter months, they would go to 5/8, and in the summer months, they would go to 4/10 because of changing time. And that's when they do their projects. In the wintertime, it gets dark early, you know.
Right, but weather, well, we have monsoons, don't we?
Yeah, I don't understand that's one of the things I don't understand on that department, why, because you're right, it seems like daylight savings time and weather works against the change in schedule as it's adopted.
Why?
And you checked the overtime, remember you said you were gonna do a study on the ones like, to me, that department would probably be one of the ones that puts overtime because the washouts, the raining, on Fridays if they're not working.
Well, so, yeah, when you're working 4/10s and then there's a lot of holidays that happen on Fridays. And then there's some on Mondays, so then they have to take the 8 hours and then take 2 hours of their own leave. And then if it's a holiday, I know Art probably not gonna like this, but a lot of times, personnel that can't be contacted to work when there's an emergency, and so supervisors are working on those holidays to get something addressed. So, and with 4/10s, they're actually realizing like 4 or 5 days off. They do it in conjunction. So those are some of the things that, yeah, you'd look at and go, how advantageous is this for us? And I can tell you that the road department is one of the departments that we have a lot of overtime in.
Well, my comment on this is we have a policy from 8 to 5, and there can be flexibility with approval from you and the department heads. I think that's the way we need to, that's my recommendation to the commissioner. Vote that way, and so there's some kind of flexibility. That way the discussion can happen with the directors. If it's not going the way it should be, then your schedule can be changed.
And it's gonna be evaluated.
Yeah.
Evaluate, see what it.
Mr. Chairman, I have a hard time believing at 6:30 in the morning the loader's running, you know? And I said that in the Conservancy too. It's just that my tractor don't want to run at 6:30 in the winter. You know, it's,
Well, that's my recommendation to the commission. How do you guys feel? You put that and give the direction to the manager.
I think it all goes to the manager.
I think everything is.
We're all saying the same thing, just a different.
Captain of the ship, keep us afloat.
I need a motion.
Moved.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Duggins. Any further discussion before we move on? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Your manager's directed county department business hours from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. If there's flexibility in the schedule, it needs to be approved ahead of time by the manager and the director. Thank you. Item M, acknowledge personnel changes. Who wants to do that? I think the commissioner is up there.
Is that this one right?
Yes, sir.
The blue one?
Yeah. They didn't change it to the other way.
So. Go ahead and prove it as is?
No, you can ask. You can ask.
No, I mean, I'll make a motion to, I'll make a motion to accept the.
Acknowledge.
I'll make a motion to acknowledge the personnel changes as is.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Secretary. Second by Commissioner Gonzalez. Any discussion before I ask for the vote? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All in-
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, personnel changes are acknowledged. 11, financial items, approved vendor checks.
I will. In regards to to approve the vendor checks as provided.
Vendor checks and payroll check.
Oh, payroll, including the payroll, sorry, sir.
Oh, second.
Motion by Commissioner Secretarial to approve vendors checks and approve payroll checks. Can you quote the amount?
Yes, sir.
Payroll is $231,350.65 up to February 9th, and then up to February 23rd is $239,152.29. And vendor checks is
An amount of $136,809.91 dated February 27th.
Thank you, Commissioner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, vendors checks and payroll checks are approved. Item 12, executive session. Move and roll call vote to go into executive session and the pursuant to New Mexico State Statute, Section 10-15-1. Only the following matters will be discussed to close session. Personnel, County Manager. Need a motion and roll call vote to go into executive session.
Do we have something?
Say again?
Chair, Commissioner Duggins was asking me if you absolutely had to go to executive session for that item, and the answer is no. Only if you wish to.
So then
What is the wishes of the commission?
we don't need to go, like,
I mean, Mr. Chairman, I think at this point, there's a motion on the table, so you could vote it down and not go into executive session, or you could approve it and go into executive session.
I think I always want to vote executive session down, so let's do that.
but we never got a second, did we? So unless we don't get a second, it's dead already.
Okay. Okay, motion and vote to return to regular session.
No,
No,
if it dies, there's no
We never
need to.
left.
Excuse me.
No, you're fine. You're fine, sir.
Okay, personnel, County Manager, Hawks. What do we discuss?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, before you is a new contract, which is it's in what's called in the law novation. It just replaces the old contract. The term of employment does not change. That still, I believe, expires in August. Nothing else changes. However, per this board's direction, it does do an increase. For the board's consideration, it does do an increase of $10,000 annually, which would then be prorated into the bi-week or bi-monthly payments. So that's before you for your consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make the motion to approve the manager's contract with Hawks as presented.
I think you should get more out of it and put it in for a couple more years. That's
Well,
you don't get a vote on it.
You need to learn to share.
Okay, you heard the
motion's to approve.
motion to approve by Commissioner Duggins. I need a second.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Gonzalez. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And as you guys know, it's nothing personal, but it's just what we talked about that in the last meeting. So I still stand in regards to that, so.
Okay, so we have 4 ayes
4-1.
and 1 nay. So motion passes. When are we gonna do your evaluation, Mike?
We just did it with this increase. Parece me, I don't know.
Chairman, May is, last part of May, so it's in by June.
Okay. Okay, yeah, maybe then I ask it. I'll just around the corner and
Yes, sir. So, you can only have two, and then it's presented to everybody else. Because you can't have three, because that's a quorum. So if you'll assign somebody, and I'll start setting it up to go. Why? The problem is if you're gonna do the evaluation, you probably wanna go out the last one because nobody sat down with me at the beginning of the performance period and establish goals. So maybe reiterate that and then see where I scored and establish new goals.
It just, Mr. Chairman, that, I don't know, that just seems like a lot to me. It's like, I don't, even, like I said, in the conservancy, here I go again. I can do my evaluation in about 2 minutes. And if a commissioner wants to do it in 13 pages of paper, isn't that all right? But and score, I don't know. I mean, I stand by you. And really, that's my evaluation. I don't know. I don't think I need to, for myself, dig into, did you dot every I? Was your,
well, I think,
if you want to do it, Mr. Chairman, or is another commissioner another way, go ahead.
no, it's a commission decision. We all have to do it. I think, because we're requiring our employees to have an evaluation, and he's an employee of the county under a contract. So I think it doesn't hurt anybody to have an evaluation. It kind of goes both ways. Being a manager, that's a stressful job. You can say, I'm giving you 2 more years or whatever, or I'm giving you so many months. Those are tough decisions, and as a commission, we need to know that. And he needs to know that he's doing a good job. Like the goals that we task him to do, I think all of that has to be written out so we can check the box and say, you did this.
Right.
You did this, you did this. You didn't do this, and you were tasked to do that. So, see, that's a check and balance.
So are you saying you want me to open up a new one or
No.
close out one that we didn't start? But I guess we could have closed one out based on the older one.
Yeah.
And then open up a new one, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. So the way, correct me if I'm wrong, I would select 1 or 2 commissioners to meet with me, close out the old one, establish the new one, and then present it to the rest of the commission. So they know where I fell and then what the expectations are.
What, according to the 2?
Yeah. That's
What are the wishes of the commission?
what I would do. That's what I do as a supervisor. I agree with that. So move like that.
Okay. Okay, under new business, considering contract, we did that already. Next commission meeting is Monday, right? Special meeting?
You all need to make that determination.
Oh, yes.
What
So,
time?
no, or in person, whatever. I don't know if chairman wants to be here or not, in person.
I'll be here Monday.
What time? I think is the time is what we need.
Craig,
What time can you guys make it? If you can make it, the rest of you, are you gonna go on Zoom?
If you make it fast, it'll probably be,
why don't we do it like 7 in the morning and that way we're done? I'll give anybody a wake-up call at 5. Huh? Quick as that.
I'm at work at 5.
Well, there you go. Just take a few minutes.
I'll have to do by Zoom, I won't be in town.
Okay, what time would you guys wanna make
We can zoom it.
Zoom?
Early.
yeah, absolutely, you can zoom it.
I'm serious. For me, 7, so I can go on with my day. 8, if it makes you feel better, I don't know. Before school, no?
Like summer day is 7, so
6:30?
See that bill over there shortly. For the kids, because they're so tired. All night long, it's not tired.
Well, it's just to,
Are the two resolutions? We only need three. If everybody has work responsibilities, so, 3 is a quorum. It's up to you guys. I understand both.
Surely we're
Joe?
going by 7.
Joe's not gonna be here.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be here.
We'll have Zoom.
I have work
You'll be
responsibility.
working.
You do Zoom.
Okay, so Commissioner Aguilar can do Zoom. You're gonna do Zoom?
I'm gonna do Zoom.
Okay. I'll come to the meeting.
So what time?
8:00,
Monday morning?
yes.
Can you pop in and do a Zoom at 8? Just quickly? I mean, you're the one really working on a schedule.
Let me, let me see. Just go ahead and send me, Mr. Haas, just go ahead and send me a link.
I'll send it to everybody, and then if we get a quorum, great.
I'll send that posse out if you know.
And then our next meeting after that one is March the 14th at 9 in the morning. Okay, need a motion to adjourn? Motion by Commissioner Alvarado, second by Commissioner Duggan.
Yeah.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Where'd the paper
Hearing none,
dinner?
we are adjourned. Thank you, Commissioners.
And I want you to know I came early this morning. At 9 o'clock I was here. So that should make up time for all the work that they. No. We're not going to the end of.
Yes, please.
Are you gonna be put up in the?
Absolutely. At some point.